Hey, what's up guys? Today, I'll show you a thriller fantasy film, BELPHEGOR, Phantom of the Louvre. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins in Egypt in 1935. A professor who is an Egyptologist discovers a sarcophagus and immediately orders his assistant to get help. Alone, he examines the mummy inside, and a strange light flickers out of the mummy. The tomb that the professor explored is said to be over 3,000 years old and contains an untouched sarcophagus. When the expedition is over, the team sail to Marseilles to put the sarcophagus and mummy in the Louvre Museum. In the ship, the professor who discovered the mummy is exhibiting weird behavior. The ship's doctor, who is logging their journey, hears screaming outside his cabin. He goes to check it, and what he finds is the corpse of the people on the ship. Being the last survivor, the doctor bravely looks for the professor and is terrified to see him in a closet, looking like mummified while wearing a different kind of ring. The scene changes to the Louvre Museum, where the sarcophagus is being examined. The museum curator notices that the inscriptions are something that only royalty would get, but its name and face are erased from the sarcophagus. Putting the mummy in a laser scanning device, he also notices that the mummy has no jewelry or amulet, which is very important for the Egyptians when they try to cross to the afterlife. Suddenly, the electricity starts malfunctioning. Then a spirit escapes from the mummy and makes its way to the electrical system of the museum. Across the street, we see a young woman named Lisa who has a loving relationship with her grandmother. But her grandma is pushing her to have a life of her own and not spend her life away with her. Later that evening, the electricity suddenly goes off, and Lisa calls an electrician to fix it. Her grandma starts teasing Lisa with the man, hoping the man can fix her hormones. Unfortunately, that same night, her grandmother passes away, which takes a toll on Lisa's well-being. Back in the museum, the curator brings another Egyptologist to continue examining the mummy. Later, a security guard approaches the Egyptologist and shows his knowledge and passion for studying Egyptology. He then offers his help to the Egyptologist, but when she respectfully denies his offer, the security guard gets weird and becomes arrogant toward the Egyptologist. Meanwhile, Lisa calls the electrician to fix the electrical problem of the whole building. She follows a cat further into the cellar. The electrician follows her, and they end up in the museum. The man wants to go back, but Lisa convinces him that it is their chance to have the museum by themselves. But without them knowing, the security is already at their tails. Trying to escape from the security, the electrician distracts them, while Lisa tries to get out of the museum. She goes inside the elevator, but she is not alone. Lisa then finds herself on the floor, where the mummy is being studied. Meanwhile, the weird guard from earlier turns out to be there as well, messing with the mummy. He immediately hides when he notices that someone is coming. The spirit goes back to its mummy as Lisa sees it on the table. It removes the cloth from its face, and a strange light flickers out of the mummy once again. The spirit enters Lisa's body. She is found by the weird guard, who ushers her out of the building. At home, Lisa tells the electrician about the mummy she saw and how weird she felt back then. But he just shrugs her smelly bullshit off. The next night, Lisa looks at the museum from the balcony, and she shuts off the place's electricity. Lisa goes to the museum, and wearing the robe and mask of the mummy, she starts collecting Egyptian treasures. But she is spotted by two security guards, one of which is the weird one. The other security guard calls her the Phantom. The weird guard tries to approach her, but she appears behind the other guard and takes him down easily. The curator is disappointed with the security, but he dismisses the rumor about the Phantom. Meanwhile, the Egyptologist is studying the journal that contains information about the exploration. There, the Egyptologist reads about the ring that is meant to belong to the mummy, but it's nowhere to be found. She deduces that the ring will help them identify the mummy. The scene changes back to Lisa and the electrician, and Lisa is showing him her newfound power. But the man just shrugs it off again and tries to make his hormone move. This makes the spirit leave Lisa's body, but it immediately goes back and starts choking the electrician. Thinking it is part of their making out, the man enjoys it at first, but he later realizes that she is choking the shit out of him. Luckily, Lisa snaps back into consciousness and manages to stop before she can kill him. After some time, the spirit takes control of Lisa's body again. At the museum, the curator is looking for the Egyptologist, but she is currently stuck in the elevator. He then sees the security head rocking night vision goggles and a shotgun. The security head reports that they spotted the Phantom again. The curator orders that he wants the culprit to be captured all at once. But once faced with the Phantom, she easily disposes of the security head. She makes him hallucinate that he's being chased by hornets, causing him to jump out of the window and die. The next morning, while telling the other security guards what happened last night, the curator receives a call. The man tells the person on the other line that he needs an expert detective to solve the case, because he believes that it is just a matter of robbery. Then the curator meets with a retired detective who comes back to settle things with the Phantom of the Louvre. He calls it BELPHEGOR, the devil living inside a human body. Detective tells the other security guards about his first encounter with BELPHEGOR. In a flashback, a security guard stumbled upon the mummy and the spirit possessed him. Donning the robe and mask, he terrorizes the museum, but Detective, who is younger at that moment, manages to shoot him. Removing his mask, he witnessed how the security guard turned into a mummified corpse. BELPHEGOR's spirit just went back to its original corpse afterward. Back to the present, Detective shows a photo of BELPHEGOR, and the weird guard recognizes it. It turns out the electrician overhears their conversation. Meanwhile, at the museum, a class is having a trip when one of the children notices the papyrus that has writings and images on it. Lisa suddenly appears and proceeds to tell the children the story of the morning shown in the papyrus. After that, the weird guard observes her. Outside, one of the children from earlier approaches her to show her a drawing he made based on her story. But when the kid confuses Apophis with Osiris, she suddenly gets mad. The parents confront her for her actions, and it is seen that she's in pain as she hears a strange noise in her head. Seeking comfort, Lisa goes to her grandmother's grave. When night falls, BELPHEGOR appears once again, and she attacks the weird guard. Meanwhile, Detective receives a report about an intruder. Going back to BELPHEGOR, she makes the weird guard hallucinate that the Pharaoh Hound display comes to life. Afraid of dogs, the security guard falls down the stairs. Fortunately, Detective arrives, and the stairs are not that high. On his way to the ambulance, the weird guard tells Detective what he sees, and Detective confirms that BELPHEGOR uses people's phobia against them through hallucinations. The next day, the curator is asked about the recent happenings in the Louvre Museum, but he quickly dismisses it. Regardless, to protect the integrity and reputation of the museum, he is still placing it under maximum security. Afterward, the curator goes to the Egyptologist to ask about the progress of her study. So far, she discovers that the mummy was a distinguished member of the clergy of Amun-Re, a form of the sun god, but the absence of its name and any jewelry suggests that the funeral was sabotage. The scene changes to Lisa writing something on her bathroom wall, not hearing the electrician calling for her. Pissed, he is about to leave when the neighbor commented that she also notices that something is going on with Lisa. He follows her to the museum, but when he opens the door, the security is already waiting for him, while Lisa successfully becomes BELPHEGOR once again. The security interrogates the electrician, but he lies, not telling them about Lisa. They begin using force, but Detective stops them. Meanwhile, BELPHEGOR is spotted by another security guard, and he quickly reports it to Detective. A security guard on the ground gets to her first. Detective orders him not to look in BELPHEGOR's eyes. Unfortunately, the security guard lost track of her, but she suddenly appears behind him. She quickly disposed of him, making him use the gun to himself. The next day, the electrician warns Lisa not to go to the museum again, but she just evades his warning. The electrician sees some weird writings on the bathroom walls. Then we see him attending a class where the Egyptologist is teaching. In the middle of the lecture, the electrician announces that he saw some hieroglyphs. The woman invites him in front, and he writes the same thing written in Lisa's bathroom walls. But this hieroglyph is unknown to the Egyptologist. One of the students, who turns out to be the weird guard, interprets that the hieroglyph might mean a spirit is crossing the river towards the kingdom of death, but cannot do so. The electrician points out that it's the same case as the mummy in the museum. The Egyptologist brings the electrician to where the mummy is, while the weird guard approaches Detective. He says that the dog he sees when he looks into BELPHEGOR's eyes is Anubis, and that the demon's name is not BELPHEGOR. Later, the weird guard aggressively approaches Lisa, but when she's had enough, BELPHEGOR briefly takes over to deal with the man. She then goes to a monument, and the electrician follows her. He tries to confront her, but Lisa is slowly losing control over herself and lifts the electrician off the ground. Luckily, she manages to stop herself from dropping him into the river. She goes to the grave of the professor that discovered the mummy. She tries to enter the mausoleum, but she's quickly stopped by security. Meanwhile, Detective meets with the Egyptologist to talk about BELPHEGOR. The Egyptologist then sees the same hieroglyph on a photo taken at the professor's cabin on the ship. Later that night, the electrician tries to warn Lisa not to go to the museum, but when she didn't listen, he had no choice but to follow her. Meanwhile, Detective receives a radio call informing him of BELPHEGOR's arrival. He immediately goes to the security room, where they're monitoring the museum using surveillance cameras. The electrician sneaks around to follow BELPHEGOR. She then goes to the rooftop. Removing her mask, Lisa looks at the man as she jumps off the museum. The scene changes to Detective confronting the electrician about Lisa, but he doesn't want to get involved with it anymore, as the woman he loves died in front of his eyes. However, when Detective goes to check on her body, there is no trace of Lisa's body or blood anywhere. It turns out she's being protected by the spirit. The next morning, Detective goes to Lisa's apartment and finds her sound asleep. He tells it to the electrician and he wants to see her, but Detective stops him. He says that the only way to save her is to help the spirit cross to the afterlife. He tells the electrician their plan. The curator arrives shortly and is angry about the recent incidents. He now wants an actual team of SWAT to capture BELPHEGOR and fires Detective. Later that night, Lisa begins to see the spirit. She tries to run, but ends up surrendering herself to it. As expected, BELPHEGOR arrives at the museum in Lisa's body, and Detective and electrician are already waiting for her. This time, BELPHEGOR is looking for the ring, but it's nowhere to be found. She finally notices the two men and appears from behind them. She corners the electrician, but as expected, nothing happened to the man. Backing away, the SWAT drops from the ceiling and catches BELPHEGOR. Without anyone noticing, the weird security guard is watching them. The next day, Detective visits Lisa. He convinces her to help him, and she says that the spirit reminds her of a story her grandmother used to tell her before. There was an evil spirit that had forbidden his name. Even the spirit itself cannot speak of his name. But there was a prince that bravely looked at the evil spirit and spoke its name. Soothed in that way, he finally returned to the afterlife. Meanwhile, in the museum, the Egyptologist discovers that the professor wears the ring that belongs to the mummy. They immediately gather a team to exhume his body. As soon as they find the ring, the Egyptologist examines the ring to know the name of the mummy. Afterward, the electrician and detective visit Lisa. The electrician goes inside her detention room and makes Lisa recite the name of the spirit. Just like the story of her grandmother about the prince who's not afraid of the devil, the electrician recites the devil's name to Lisa. Afterward, the two men meet with the Egyptologist, trying to translate the message of the evil spirit. They confirm that the spirit is asking for their help to complete its burial ceremony. It turns out the 7 amulets are already in the museum, and they are the treasures that BELPHEGOR has been collecting from the beginning. However, the curator doesn't want to help because he still does not believe that BELPHEGOR is real. Meanwhile, at the prison, we see from the perspective of the spirit that the weird guard is trying to kill Lisa. He wants to be possessed by the spirit to discover more about the Egyptian afterlife and the secret for eternity. But it's just a premonition, and she manages to stop the weird guard and escape. Then Detective receives a call from the army hospital. Knowing what's happening, he and the electrician quickly go to the museum. Meanwhile, the curator looks at the amulets back on display. When he looks back and finally sees BELPHEGOR, he thinks that it's just Detective scaring him. But BELPHEGOR proves him wrong. She is about to kill him, but luckily, Detective arrives to stop her. Realizing that he's wrong, the curator finally agrees to help Nebmis, the real name of the spirit, to cross the river to the afterlife. When the ceremony is done, everyone sees the spirit of Nebmis finally crossing into the afterlife. Lisa collapses to the floor, and the electrician quickly attends to her, slowly removing the mask. He's glad to see her fine and still beautiful as ever. Lisa, just like Nebmis, is now finally free, and she can live with the love of her life in peace. But more spirits start escaping from the museum. The movie ends with Lisa and her lover sharing a tongue massage while she watches the spirits fly in the air. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.